Nat 20. Hi folks, Merlin here, bringing you another Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer video. So we're zipping along with the collection. We're into our second adventure now. We're on the not so unlucky actually for issue 13. Why not so unlucky? Because it comes jam-packed with some extra little game items that we'll find quite useful as we play more and more games of Dungeons and Dragons. So first off, we'll have a quick look at the front of the issue. So we get a brand new exclusive adventure. We unleash a barbarian, looking at the class and its first and second level skills. We have a bit of background on the weave, and we also start looking at hexes and curses. All leading up to our, of course, brand new adventure, as I mentioned. And right, moving on to freebies then. So, as I said, this issue is jam-packed. We get a fun little dungeon mat. So this is a nice double-sided mat, about the same size as the Conquest and Imperium ones that we had. It's double-sided, so we got a stone grey tiled dungeon floor on one side and a grassland on the other side. So pretty cool, nicely usable for covering the different areas that we will be most commonly combating in. As we are introducing a brand new class, we of course have a brand new character to use said class. We've got a Dragonborn character, and he's a pretty brutal barbarian, so first and second level character sheets for this guy are included. Finally then, we've got our set of dice for the issue, and I must admit, it's probably one of my favourite sets so far. Nice ice blue glittery effect set of dice with a lovely little felt bag as well to store them in. So that's the contents of the issue. So before we dive over to the table and take a closer look at things and read through the magazine together, don't forget to, of course, do our usual. There's a like button down that way. There's a subscribe button just over to that corner. There's, of course, links in the video description down below, including the Mad Merlins Patreon, where I've got some exclusive videos coming very soon. Today, Friday, is the last day for my current poll on the channel for the upcoming paint video of the month. So, if you haven't voted already, please do so. It will probably be closed, actually, by the time this video goes out. So might extend it just to be on the safe side, but I think I've had about the same amount of votes as the previous poll, so I think it's going to be a safe bet to close that one off. And yeah, I'll bring a paint video to Patreon and YouTube this week. I might even do a second one exclusive to Patreon for the second place winner of the poll. And yeah, so big shout out to all my supporters as usual. You guys really keep me going. And yeah, without further ado, let's take a look through issue 13 of Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer. So here we are, up close and personal to issue 13. So we've got quite a lot to go through, so this video might be a little longer than the others, but it'll all be worth it. So we've got our dice here in the dice tray, ready to give them a nice roll. We'll have a close look at those. We've got our double-sided mat, so I will zoom out and I'll show you this off. There's a few things to talk about this, so we will cover that in just a sec. We, of course, have our character sheets for our Barbarian Dragonborn, Karkroth Hivarax. So yeah, we got level 1 and level 2, and there he is there. We get a standee for this guy in the next issue, alongside our forest gnome and a couple of enemies, which is our first enemies we've had, and hopefully not our last. But yeah, we'll take a closer look at that in just a sec. And of course we have our issue. So we got that beautiful second adventure cover with our Karkroth there, and our 3 of our previously introduced characters there. So yeah, got a lot to look at. So we've got some extra expert roleplay tips there on how to bring out the best of your players, and how those players can bring out the best of their characters. Yeah, we learn about the Barbarian, the Weave, hexes and curses, and of course we have a brand new adventure to go through. So let's start off with usual, the freebies. So as I said, the dice we get in this issue are a really nice ice blue with a glitter effect, and yeah, they really do look nice. So let's take them out the bag and have a bit of a closer look at them. So we also get a felt bag with the D&D Adventurer in blue this time. We had red with our last giant dice. I believe we are getting a giant dice very soon, so there will be a second one of those for our set of complete adventure dice. And yeah, here we have the dice in question, and yeah, they come across pretty good. A little bit darker on camera than they actually are. More of an ice blue in real life. On camera, probably more closer to a sky blue. But yeah, these are really nice. The glitter effect really sells the ice effect that they're going for. And fantastic looking dice. Yeah, we're going to be getting a set very similar to this, but a bit more clearer and with mini axes in. I think that's in the next delivery, so can't wait for that set as well. That would just be a nice little fun set, perfect for any axe wielding character. So without further ado, let's give these a roll. And we've not done too bad. So 9, 8, 50, 3, 3, 9. If I don't knock it over. And hey, the issue, 13. So yeah, that's a pretty good roll of dice. And yeah, I just like them. They're really nice. Glitter effect is pretty cool. Comes across lovely, and yeah, just looks really icy. So as usual, we'll give them their second roll for the camera. A little better on some, a little worse on, well, quite a few actually. But yeah, so we've still got a 3 on the 4. 2, 1, 1, 3, 8, and an 18. So not too bad. I can definitely see myself using this set for a character who has a likeness for blue, perhaps, or as a character who hails from an icy village. But yeah, they go nicely into the little pouch, has drawstring, and yeah, perfect way to carry your dice around. I think I'll do the same with the other one and move the larger one to a better storage place. So yeah, that's the dice. Now let's take a look at our character sheets before we take a look at the dungeon board. Here we have Karkroth Hiverax, our brand new Dragonborn Barbarian. He's got a soldier background, so he's obviously been in the military within his tribe. He's had experience in battle before. Alignment and player name, as usual, are left open for you to put yours in, and of course he has level 1. So, as usual, we got our stat blocks down this side with his proficient abilities as well as his proficient saving throws. He's also an expert at survival. We got his proficiency in languages down here as usual. Passive wisdom 10, pretty smart. So we have his, of course, armor class stand HP here. So 14 for armor class and his current HP. He's got average speed of 30 and +2 to his initiative roll, and his hit dice is the 1d12, so one of the highest hit dice you can get. His weapons are a dagger, a great axe, and a javelin, so he's very melee focused, likes to get up in the face of the enemy and hit them over the head with sharp objects. So we've got his features and traits. He's got dragonic ancestry, he can use a breath weapon, he can rage, unarmored defense, and he has a military rank there as well. Come on. Open sesame. And on the back, yeah, he has nothing. He has no spells. He doesn't have allies at the moment. He doesn't have any treasure and magic items. And he hasn't got a backstory. So they're free for you to fill out. But other than that, pretty cool. Moving on to his second level character. Still has the armor class 14. Has 23 hit points now. So he's getting to be a very tanky boy. And yeah, gets a few new features, so danger sense and reckless attack, plus unarmored defense. So yeah, not too bad for a brand new character. I also get unarmored defense there on level 1, which is a barbarian trait, because they don't particularly have fondness for armor. They will use shields and light armor more than anything, because they just prefer the freedom of being able to go, as we see, for there into a rage state, which we'll cover in the issue. Right, next up we got the mat. So the first thing I want to talk about is the quality of the mat. When I say quality, I don't mean the actual quality of the component it's made out of. I'm more talking the quality of its made material and usefulness. So I have here a dry white marker from an old notice board that I had quite a few years ago. I have my Dungeon Craft mat here, and I have the Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer mat there. So it's a good mat, nice detailed, feels sturdy. The only thing is it has a rather matte and satin finish, whereas this has a rather glossy and smooth finish. And if we bring in my pen, we can see I'll draw a circle there, an X there, and on here it wipes quite easily, whereas on here it smudges and you can still see. So sadly they are not dry wipe suitable. Not a deal breaker. It's nice to have this as an inclusion just to help us place our characters, maybe put down some 2D or 3D terrain elements on top of it. They are both the same size, so 1-inch squares, which is pretty nice. So average dungeon map size for putting our figures on. I probably should have brought my figures down to show how they can be, the mat can be used. But yeah, so that's the bad news. Really, it's not dry wipe usable, which is a little of a downside. But yeah, these are really good high quality mats from Dungeon Craft. If you want a good mat, they do quite a few different ones. I picked up the Fields and Rivers one. There's also a dungeon, a forest, and I think there's a sea and shadow one it's called, or something like that, which has like a shadowy realm on one side, and the other side has the like a sort of a coastal area and open sea. So pretty cool. But yeah, there's that. But here we have the one from the magazine. I think I'll have to zoom out a little bit more. Hold on a sec. So yeah, there we have the mat folded out. It's a nice size, gives us plenty of space for putting our figures. And if you wanted to put some terrain pieces down, feel free to do that for yourself. But yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 20-ish inches long, 21 if you count the half squares around the outside. So yeah, pretty cool. it's going to serve its purpose, gives us something to enact our battles on, and it's nice that it's double-sided, so you got a open field with a few rocks and shrubs in places, or the dungeon side, which I think I prefer. So yeah, a wonderful inclusion, just a pity it's not a dry wipe and wet wipe sort of marker. Would have been a little better if it was, but I think it'll still serve its purpose for usefulness as a combat arena. Right, time then to take a look through issue 13. Here we are then with issue 13, and let's take a look through the issue. So, our full contents, we have Adventure 2, Encounter 13, Chasing Shadows. For our Sage Advice sections, we have the Passage of Time Part 2 and All About Spellcasting Curses Part 1. For character creation, we've got that lovely bit of expert advice about becoming a better role player. Then we have our brand new features for the Barbarian, so focusing on the Barbarian class itself, then their skills at first and second levels. Then our lore, we have the Weave and the Pantheon of Gods there. So with this issue, we get first and second level character sheets for our brand new Barbarian. We've got a double-sided terrain map, as well as a brand new set of dice. We've got the usual D&D Beyond QR code there, and finally then at the bottom, a reminder about binders. I have recently just made sure I've cancelled mine. I'm not particularly wanting extra binders. I'm going to plan to pick up a cheap one next month from WH Smith or somewhere else, and use those to store my individual details, information in. But yeah. There we go. Right, let's kick things off with The Passage of Time Part 2. It takes time to travel to your next adventure in Dungeons & Dragons, but you can also use this time to your advantage. So we've had Part 1 where we've discussed distance and the time it takes to cross certain distances. Now, we are focusing a little bit more on what you can do with your time as you travel. So, you've got a top tip in the Forgotten Realms. A week lasts 10 days and is called a 10-day. Each month is made up of 3 10 days, totaling 30. So, this focuses on our travelling pace, which I did cover a little bit last time. I mentioned that your travelling pace is often affected by the combined total and average movement speed of your party. But here we have whether you want to move at a fast, normal or slow pace, how much you can cover in a minute, an hour and per day, and then any other effects. So moving fast, you are -5 to your passive wisdom as you're not paying much attention. No bonuses or negatives for normal, but at slow speed you do get to use your stealth and yeah, just take your time with things. So we've got a little bit here about how to make the most of your paces depending on the terrain. So mostly you will travel on open roads or plains or even clear dungeon corridors. Areas such as dense forest, swamps and rubble-filled ruins, even the sides of mountains and ice-covered ground will class as difficult terrain, and you might want to take things a little slower so you don't end up causing injury to you or any of your party members. So each character can travel for a total of 8 hours a day before they risk exhaustion. If you travel beyond 8 hours, you need to take a DC 10 + 1 for each hour saving throw. If you fail, you will suffer a level of exhaustion. Then we got a reminder here about in-game time. It's up to the DM to really track the time of day week and even year. You might want to even incorporate annual events into your adventures, as it mentions here. There's an ancient ceremony that welcomes the sun back from following a dark winter. There's even the annual Day of Wonders parade, which will take place in the autumn. So yeah, very helpful article. Moving on then, we look at the curses part 1. So a new piece for our spellcasting characters to look at, but pretty handy nonetheless. In D&D, a curse can befall even the most stalwart of adventurers, whatever its source, from the spell book of a necromancer to the bite of a werewolf. A curse will affect your game, so it's wise to know how to deal with them should they occur. As it's mentioned there, curses are afflictions of a magical or sometimes spiritual source. Sometimes a curse can be awoken simply by just picking up a specific item that has been deemed holy and really unmovable. But yeah, even from a low level, certain classes have the ability to inflict curses, and others even have the chance to remove curses. So curses take a various range of time, from 1 minute to, well, eternity. So we got monstrous curses here. As mentioned, werewolf or lycanthropy is one of the most common curses in the realms. So yeah, just don't get bit by any wolf-like creature, as it might be a werewolf in its wolfen form. You will, of course, know if you have been afflicted by the curse, because in the next full moon you will undergo the change yourself. So we got curses in action then. So these can change the course of a quest or even a whole campaign, depending on the level of the curse and its implications on the character. Curses aren't confined to just spells. They can be created as adventure hooks, or such as the last dying words of an assassin. The last dying words of a villain cursing their assassin, which could be the hero in this case. It does mention to take a look at the D&D sourcebook Van Reichten's Guide to Ravenloft, which has a bit of more information on curses, including the 3 distinct components: pronouncement, burden, and of course resolution. Yeah, curses not the best of things to be inflicted with. Moving on, let's have a look at becoming a better role player. So, exploring dungeons and slaying monsters are key parts of D&D quests. Just as important, though, are the social interactions that your characters has with other inhabitants of the world and the other characters in their adventuring party. It's a good idea to think of, when creating your characters, how they will speak, act, and generally exist in a real-world situation. Role-playing is literally the act of playing out a role. If you're new to this, think of it as pretty much drama class, really. You are taking on the personality of somebody totally different and bringing them to life in your own particular way. There's classic archetypes such as the valiant paladin, the lore-seeking wizard, or even the mischievous rogue. Most of them are based around characters from fiction. Quite like this little artwork at the bottom here. So we see a elven spellcaster projecting an owl, entertaining his party members of a halfling and a human. But in the dark backgrounds and the shadows, we have a rearing up snake ready to attack them. So pretty cool there. Really nice artwork. So one of the things to think about is character quirks. You can give your character a quirk, such as a catchphrase, a specific mannerism, or even a way of talking or acting. something true to your character which gives them and others an idea of what you are about. So yeah, pretty cool. So next up we have Be Motivated. So this helps us think of ways on how to flesh out a character. So there's 3 important parts to building a great character. This is objectives, backstory, and their tactics. So we got an example here about a character. So their objective is something that they want. In this case, they want to defeat an evil wizard named Carrick. Their backstory will often give you the reason of why you want to achieve your objective. In this case, he killed your parents. Evil Carrick, how dare you. And then finally, we have, of course, the tactics. So his tactics might just be straight up violence and doing the best things. But another way is he might want to become a famous hero known across the realms. So not just taking out Carrick, but making up for his rather bullied childhood. Pretty cool way to incorporate more creativity into your characters. Finally, then, for this page, we have Be Curious. So if a character walks into a tavern, the DM takes his time to explain the setout and describe few key NPCs. You might want to think of ways to interact with them. So there could be an important NPC who will give you an advantage on your quest, maybe even have a side quest for you, or even have something to sell to your characters. It might also be a good idea to take a look around, as who knows, that lovely tapestry on the wall might actually be hiding a secret entrance. Yeah. Pretty cool, really great article to help you get a little bit better at playing these characters. Moving on, we got our pages looking at the Barbarian. So this is a brand new class that we are being introduced to, and these are the warriors bonded with the primal powers of the multiverse that make potent friends and fearsome foes. So barbarians are usually well built, wear minimal clothing, as our Dragonborn is seen here. Literally just a loincloth and a few belts and furs. And they carry a variety of usually melee focused weapons. So he has a great axe, a javelin, and his dagger there as well. So barbarian mentality, you are often first and foremost, a tribal person. You cherish the primal parts of the world, so often working in farmlands and recognized in cities. They also embrace their own place in the multiverse, valuing keen instincts and raw physicality. And yeah, they make pretty good bodyguards for hire as well. So we got a article here focusing on how to best create a barbarian. So they're well accustomed to nomadic life, so joining a group of itinerant adventurers is a natural step. Sometimes it could be useful, as it most likely will pay into their gods' plans or customs of their tribes. So yeah, pretty cool. We've got a couple of archetypal barbarians here from history and fiction. So Conan and Boudica. Pretty well-known sort of barbarians. Conan is, of course, that classic chunky guy, big muscles, big sword, shield, long hair. Yeah, they're pretty cool barbarians, I think. Yeah, so we got ways we can describe our barbarian. Usually they'll have very similar quirks, such as decorating their bodies with tattoos and that whole personal meaning, carrying totems relating to an animal or ancestor that will possibly give them strength and agility. They follow a god or primal pantheon and look to guidance in omens from those deities. And usually they forsake spirituality and instead rely on senses, trusting only in the blood that runs through their veins and the steel that hold in their hands. Finally then we got primal instinct. So rage is a barbarian's most defining feature, going into a blinded primal rage where they get a little bit more better in combat, but they do lose themselves to their surroundings, and they might even open themselves up to more intricate attacks like an assassin sort of blade or even a spell. So, got another picture of a barbarian lady here wearing skulls, bones and teeth, levers, carrying a spear and a dagger there. Yeah, pretty cool. And even those barbarians that live together will often fight together. So we got a man and his wife carrying a child fighting off against a pack of frost wolves. So yeah, really loving the artwork that comes in this magazine. Really cool. Moving on then, so we got a look at the barbarian features of the first level. The primal rage that burns within barbarians make them dangerous and unpredictable opponents in combat. Just as not every priest is a cleric, nor every thief a rogue, barbarians are more than your average wild unarmoured warriors. So yeah, they have a specific defining role, often a duty to their tribe, as well as perhaps a specific deity that they worship. So as we've mentioned, their rage is their most defining feature. They get advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. They make melee attacks. They gain, using a weapon that adds their strength modifier, they gain an extra 2 on the damage roll. And finally, they have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So the rage will last for a minute, which is 10 rounds of combat. It can end early if you are knocked unconscious. You can choose to drop out of the rage as a bonus action. You go into the rage as a bonus action as well. I forgot to mention. You could also fall out of the rage if you fail to take or deal damage and attack an opponent. But yeah, so we got a little bit finally at the bottom about multi-classing. So you could end up being a wizard who goes into barbarian. So there's a bit of information there to tell you to look in the player's handbook to help you cover more articles. Finally then, the last thing to look at for first level is unarmored defense. As I've mentioned, barbarians very rarely wear heavy armor. They think of it as a hindrance, and as such, they get more protection from just being able to be rather physically strong, as well as pretty nimble. And also their rage also blinds them to damage as well, and incoming attacks pretty much. So yeah, pretty cool. Moving on though, we got a look at the second level of the barbarian. So as they progress, they increase in ferocity of their attacks and learn to dodge danger. So the first thing a second level barbarian gains is a danger sense, the ability to sense danger pretty much instinctively. So yeah, they're good to head up a party, being out in front, as they can pick out and find traps before they are triggered. There's a few provisos that you need to consider. You must not be blinded, not be deafened, and not be incapacitated in order to benefit from danger sense. At second level, your hit points also increase, which is by 1d12 plus your constitution modifier, or the average roll of 7 plus your constitution modifier. Also at second level, we get Reckless Attack, which is a brand new ability that allows us to go a little bit more berserker. So we get advantage for all, sadly, as a bit of a downside to making a reckless attack. You get advantage on your melee rolls, but so does those at you, as you are less aware of your surroundings. So yeah, benefits and some negatives there as well. Moving on then, we look at the Weave. So the Weave is the source of the spellcaster's astonishing powers, and the very fabric of magic itself. So we've touched on the Weave a little bit before, but now we're going into a little bit more of a in-depth view of it. So on Toril, the world that is home to the Forgotten Realms, the first thing trained wizards learn in their studies is the existence of the Weave. This was created by the goddess Mystra, and is how any mortal or immortal can basically pull at powers and create magic for themselves. So it's as old as the multiverse itself and is invisibly enmeshed around every living creature, penetrating them, surrounding them, and binding them together. No, wait, that's the Force. Really, is there any difference? Who knows? But yeah. Very handy. So we got a bit of background here on Mystra. So she was once named Mistril, was formed by the clash of opposing energies from the goddess of light Siloon and darkness Shah as they fought for the cosmos. She arose as a balancing force. She was originally targeted by a archmage, Crassus, who was an ancient magician from the Empire of Neferil, attempted to steal all of Mistril's power. In order to save the Weave from destruction, she sacrificed herself. She was reborn as Mystra, who used a magically talented peasant girl as her vessel and was far less mercurial than her predecessor. It goes on to mention that the spell plague was caused by the assassination of Mystra by Shah, god of darkness there, or goddess of darkness actually, so because it mentions that Shah is a female. Though she returns and repaired the Weave, it took quite a while to do so, and it's still areas where it's kind of a blank. There's no way anyone can particularly tap into it. Of course, magic items are a common way of the Weave being in tune with something physical. So, yeah, there we go. So I think there's going to be more to this. It doesn't have every answer that you want about the Weave. So yeah, pretty cool information to start us off. Moving on to our last bit of lore before our adventure, we focus on the Pantheon of the Gods. So for every passion and profession in the Forgotten Realms, there's a patron deity for you to worship. Much like magic and adventuring, fighting, and of course dragons, religion is a key important part of the life in the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. Clerics channeling divine power, evil cults performing rituals, and paladins standing as the shining beacon against the darkness. Religion is pretty much everywhere. So yeah. We got a few gods mentioned here. So we got Goddess of Love and Beauty, Soon. So if they want luck in a relationship. Might even make an offering to the Goddess of Trade, Joaquin, before they head to market to sell their goods. They even might appease the God of Storms, Talos, when a severe gale blows in, all within the same day. So yeah, things to think about here. With agreement from the Dungeon Master, players can choose from the list of gods, which we'll cover in just a sec. Characters can choose a single deity to serve, worship, or pay lip service to. Characters can pick a few gods that they pay that they pray most often to. Characters might note the gods who are revered in the campaign to invoke their names when appropriate, and a cleric or character with the acolyte background, such as Razagar, should match their character to their deity's beliefs. And here we have a gigantic list of all the deities. These are just the basic ones. I won't go into it. There's 30 here to cover. But there are many throughout the Forgotten Realms that are revered and given tribute to, from individual cults, tribes, etc., to larger religious temples. A god's alignment is an important factor, so depending on the side of the balance that the god sits, will often determine what their followers will do. So we've got a DM top tip at the bottom here. Quickly create a pantheon for your campaign. You can pick a single god for each of the 8 domains: death, knowledge, life, light, nature, tempest, trickery, and war. You could choose these gods from the pantheon listed, or invent some of names and personalities of your own. So yeah, we've got our chart here. We'll just pick a couple. So we've got the name of the deity, their domain, their symbol, and their alignment. So we'll start at the top. Auril, who is the goddess of winter, nature and tempest. Their symbol is a 6-pointed snowflake, and they are a neutral evil. Then we'll go down here. We got, say, Grumsh here, who is an orc god of the storms and war. He's again a tempest and war. He has the unblinking eye, and he is chaotic evil. So yeah, if you want to, take a moment, pause the video and read through these if you want. But yeah, pretty cool and a nice thing to think about. Moving on then, we have a brand new encounter to cover. So, balance for second level characters, and 1 to 2 hours, so a nice short one for us to deal with. So, Encounter 2, Adventure 2, Encounter 13. Overview then. So, Vizera, a nefarious necromancer, makes her fortune off the defenseless villagers of the north. Her scheme is simple. She sends undead shadows to assault the locals and arrives a few days later to sell protective charms. Those who place these charms on their doors are spared, and those who don't either perish or survive long enough to be convinced of their worth. Currently, Vizara targets the hamlet of Trentor. Shadow creatures began attacking Trentor 4 days ago, and the charm peddler arrived a couple of days later. Most of the locals already bought her charms, but a few still refrain. The protector of Trentor, a halfling warrior called Hachette Littlefoot, is injured from her fight with these creatures last night. The hamlet needs a new protector. Will our heroes be able to defend Trentor and put an end to this ominous predicament? So yeah, we got our encounter goals. Where we start from, so the Blind Basilisk Inn, we got Harriet's home there as well. And yeah, most of our fighting is going to take place in the dark of night when the shadows will come out. We fight 4 of them to deal with. So we can even confront Vizera and take her out and stop her from being rather evil. And then of course there's the escape and how to end the encounter. Pretty fun little adventure, I think. Pretty cool. So, moving on, we got our stat blocks. So, we got Hachette Littlefoot injured. So, hopefully we might see her fully healthy later on. But yeah, pretty cool. So, got her stats as usual, her actions that she can do. Moving on, we got Big Bad Vizera, who is a Dragonborn Necromancer. And yeah, so we detail her stats as usual, any actions as well as her spells. So she can cast Web and Ray of Sickness. And there's some other spells that she can use, which will be detailed in our spell booklet from last issue. Finally then, we've got our 4 shadows and their stats there as well. So, not the easiest things to deal with, fighting off against literal shadows. But yeah, should be a fun little adventure. Right, I'll bring everything back in and I'll give you my final thoughts on issue 13. So there we have it. That was issue 13 of Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer. Yeah, I think this is a brilliant issue. We knew we were getting the character sheets and the dice in this issue from Fohammer's list, but we did not know about the awesome dungeon tile board, so that was a nice bonus. As I've mentioned before, the dice are fantastic. I like them. Nice glittery ice effect dice. Yeah, good addition to our collection. Character sheets are, again, good quality and gives us another choice of characters to play. We have level 1 and 2, so we can even go back and try out this character in some of the earlier missions. That will balance for first level. The issue itself has a great amount of information, so we've got plenty, of course, to help us play our new Barbarian. We've got helping you become a better role player, which I think is a really nice article, and hopefully we're going to see some more like that as well. We got a bit more about passage of time, and we start looking at curses as well. We also learn a bit more about the weave, which is pretty handy. And yeah, we start looking at the Pantheon of Gods. So yeah, take your time, read through them and think which ones, as a DM, you'd want to include. And as a player, think of which ones you could see yourself worshipping. Other than that, not a lot to talk about. Fantastic issue, great gifts. I can definitely see myself using the mat for a generic battlefield sort of thing for adventures. Might even be using it in my videos for when I start doing playthroughs. The dice, easily my favourite out of the 2 blue sets we've had so far. But yeah, not much more to talk about really, I don't think. Solid issue, good amount of reading. I think, yeah, I'm struggling to give it anything less than a 10 out of 10. The surprise inclusion of the battlefield mat probably pushes it to an 11 out of 10. I don't know. Really good value nonetheless. But yeah, this one definitely feels more worth the $8.99 price. So pretty cool. Just wish that the mat was actually more of a dry wipe use. Not too sure if it's coming across, but you can see the little dot I did as my first test to see whether it was actually dry wipe usable. But yeah, sad to say it's not, but still a nice inclusion anyway. I think I have blabbered on long enough. This was a fun issue to go through, some really good information and plenty of food for thought. I'm going to look forward to rereading some of the articles and using them to hopefully create better characters and better experiences as a DM. But yeah. Right, can't wait for next issue. It's a bit of a letdown issue, but we do get some standees for our new characters, as well as a couple of enemies to face off against. And we got some interesting information, and I think we start a new second part adventure as well. After that, we got to wait, of course, for the next delivery, which should be soon. Can't wait. It's going to be some interesting items in that one. I believe we are getting, I think it's 3 sets of dice, and we are also getting inspiration tokens as well. So Bit of a letdown. Would be nice if we had a few more other items. Perhaps there might be some booklets, not too sure. But yeah, looking forward to it nonetheless. So yeah, apology, it's been a long video, but there was a lot to cover, especially with the map and character sheet as well. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. Have you enjoyed this issue as much as I have? Do you like the dice? Do you like the mat? Do you wish it was better? Just let me know. Drop a comment down below. We'll have a good old conversation about it in the comment section. Other than that, thank you again very much for watching, and until next time, keep rolling those crits.